Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing the most sophisticated and elegant luxury makeup in my collection. I had a subscriber recommend this video for me to film. I thought it would just be a really great idea because whenever I describe products, I always mention that they have a really elegant or sophisticated finish. So I thought this was such a great idea to pick my most elegant and sophisticated products. I wanted to try and just limit it to one per category, but just because of how much I like that elegant and sophisticated finish, especially in eyeshadows, I did recommend more than one just because I thought it would be a little helpful to mention more than one in that category as well. But for complexion products, I did try to limit it to one. And I really like elegant and sophisticated makeup, especially because I think when I think of elegant and sophisticated products, to me personally, I know everyone has their version of what is elegant and sophisticated, but to me, what it is complexion enhancing. It makes your skin look even better, but it still allows your skin to shine through, and it just enhances your natural beauty. So I think that is really what I go for something that's sophisticated and elegant, especially in person. I think it's a really timeless look, a really classic look that's going to look good 10 years ago, but it's also going to look good 10 years from now. I just like that kind of look that lets your skin shine through, that lets your natural beauty shine through. But enough blabbering, let's just get straight into the products. I'm going to start off with complexion products. I'm going to start out with primer. So I think when I want to go for a sophisticated and elegant look, primer is really important because that will allow you to really get your complexion looking its best without applying your pigmented products over top, like your foundation and concealer. And when you can get your complexion looking beautiful without adding those pigmented products, you can apply less of your foundation and concealer when you have that really nice, blurred, perfected look to start with. It will just allow you to see your skin, but really enhanced, so that you won't feel like you need to add as much coverage, if that makes sense. I just like primers that are perfecting and add that really filtered effect. So my favorite kind of mattifying primer is the Paula's Choice Smoothing Primer Serum. This does work for all skin types. It primes, protects, and perfects. Wow, that is like a tongue twister. But this does have some antioxidants in it as well. It is a clear primer, so it's not going to add any sort of pigmentation. What this does is it really helps out with any texture on the skin. So if you do suffer from texture, like any pores or anything like that, or if you just have texture on your skin, this adds the most beautiful blurred effect, especially in this area. Now, I don't really have pores or texture on my skin or large pores or anything, but I still want everything to be as perfected and blurred and smooth as possible. And this does a really, really great job of that without adding any sort of coverage or color or anything. It just adds such a great base. And because everything looks so filtered and smooth when I apply this primer, I don't require as much foundation over top just because everything is already starting out with a really smooth, perfected canvas. I like to use this just in the center of my face, so right where, again, I have pores here, and then I'll take that excess on the center of my forehead, my nose, and the middle of the chin. And next on my list is a more, I want to say, dewy primer. It's not actually dewy, but it's going to add a little bit of hydration, and I like to kind of have multitasking products where on the exterior of my skin, I'm going to apply something a bit more hydrating that's going to have a bit more of a sheen or glow. And then in the center of my face, I want things to be more mattified, just because I think that looks the best when you want the most kind of seamless application, is to have that matte in the center of your face and then the glow on the exterior of your skin. So I like to combine products that way. For a little bit of a sheen and for that hydration, I really am enjoying the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Rose Face Tint. Again, it's a very sophisticated and elegant primer because it has a very subtle glow, but the glow it has does not emphasize texture. It does not distract the eye where it has glitter or shimmer flecks or shimmer particles that you can detect on the skin. Sometimes on camera, you can't really see how these sort of products look, but what this does is it adds that really blurred, beautiful effect. And because there is a slight pink tint to it, it adds a really nice brightness without it being too pink. It doesn't leave a pink tint on my skin or anything like that, but it does add that filtered, blurred, soft focus effect. Therefore, when I apply this on the exterior of my skin, and especially under the eyes, I don't require as much foundation or concealer over top. This is just fantastic when I want that elegant look. And for foundation, there was just kind of one choice for me, and it was really easy to pick this one. When I want the most sophisticated finish and the sophisticated look, I go with the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence de Teint. There is something so beautiful and elegant about this foundation, and I like to describe that with the finish of this foundation specifically. It has a really unique finish because I feel like it looks velvet on the skin, has that velvet sort of finish that's very skin-like, but when you turn your head, you do get this ever so soft glow, and it's something that I really like to reach for in the evening time when I want my skin to just look special. It reminds me almost like a candlelight glow. It sort of has that sort of finish to it that is just so gorgeous. And another great thing about this is that it has that blurring capability, that has that soft focus, filtered finish to it as well. So your skin just looks really nice and blurred as well. This does have some skincare benefits in it, but it's just such a great foundation that I rely on. It has great longevity to it, and it is a very skin-like foundation. You can still see skin texture showing through. So if you do suffer from a lot of pigmentation, you will require a facial concealer over top. But I think an elegant foundation still allows your skin to shine through, because in person, I want you to still see skin texture. I think that allowing your skin to shine through just is a really chic makeup look that's always classic. It's always going to be in style. It's always going to look good. It's just a universally flattering sort of look when you can actually see your skin through. I think it just looks beautiful. It just makes your skin look enhanced and your skin look even better. And the concealer is another Chanel. This is another Chanel Sublimage product. I guess they just nailed the Sublimage line. But this is the Chanel Sublimage Le Corrector U, the Radiance Generating Concealing Eye Care in the shade 20. Now, I probably should have got the shade 30. This is a little bit too brightening for me, but besides the point, this is a beautiful, again, skin-enhancing concealer. And again, I really like the finish of this because it's not too matte of a concealer, especially on the under eye area. I try to avoid concealers that are too matte because they can just look drying and make the texture on my skin look worse. But this is a really special concealer because it has a decent amount of coverage without it looking makeup-y or heavy on the skin, and you can really build this up. So if you're someone that requires lighter coverage, just go in with a small amount. But if you do require more coverage, you can build it up to that medium, slightly fuller coverage look, and it still doesn't look heavy. It still looks really beautiful on the under eyes. It's a concealer that I can rely on because I don't need to be super careful with it. You can never... I mean, you can apply too much product eventually, but it is so buildable that I never feel like it looks heavy or makeup-y on the under eye area. And it's just a very beautiful in-person concealer because it doesn't settle into any creases or fine lines. It wears beautifully throughout the day. It has this ever soft glow to it, but again, it almost has that soft glow where it tricks the eye, where it reflects light and makes everything look really blurred and beautiful. Just such a great concealer when I want that really put together chic makeup look. And if I do want to set that concealer down with a little bit of powder, which I typically want to do when I want my makeup to look really sophisticated, just because I think it looks good when your under eye is a little bit more mattified. It just looks a little bit more perfected. And in person, it's going to reduce any texture there. Sometimes if you don't set your concealer, especially right on the under eye hollows, it can just look, it kind of bounces light in a distracting way where it just doesn't look as perfected and good if you just set it with a little bit of powder. You need to be very picky when you are picking an under eye setting powder though. And one that I have just been loving is the Givenchy Prisme Libre Matte Finish and Enhanced Radiance Loose Powder in the shade 3 Voile Rosé. This does have a little bit of a pinky, peachy, I guess it's more of a pinky hint of color to it. So it works really well on the under eyes where I want a little bit of brightness. I did film a Get Ready With Me where I film all my tips and tricks to show you how to create an elegant and sophisticated look. So I'll kind of show you how I use this powder in that video. But you just need a really small amount, and I just apply it right where like I'm the most dark, just to set the concealer down. But it's such a minuscule amount of powder. It's just such a little bit of powder that it doesn't look powdery. You're not going to notice it in person. Just a really great finely milled powder that's really nice for the under eye area specifically. And speaking of powders, I do, now this might seem like over the top, but I do have different powders for my under eye versus my face. Kind of the same where I have different concealers for my under eye and my face as well, just because they're different areas of your face and I just feel like they require different powders. So to set my foundation, I feel like a really sophisticated powder is the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Finishing Powder. And I really like this specifically just for the center of my face where I have pores, because this adds a really nice blurred effect. It really perfects your skin. It does a great job of perfecting not only the texture of your skin, but if you do have a little bit of discoloration, it counteracts that as well. It's just such a fantastic filtered powder that does make your skin look filtered, but it doesn't look too makeupy on the skin. It doesn't look too heavy. This is the powder I rely on when I want that really elegant and sophisticated look, where I want everything to just be a little bit more perfected. I also really love the Clé de Peau Refining Press Powder, but I have a feeling they're reformulating this one. But this is great if you want that blurred filtered look, but you don't want any coverage. You just want that blurred and filtered look without changing the coverage level or without adding any sort of color to your skin. These are the most sophisticated powders in my collection. And I totally forgot to mention facial concealer. If you do require a facial concealer, the only concealer you need is the Clé de Peau, the concealer. This is just the best for facial concealing because it does have a very full coverage to it, but it has a full coverage that has this ability to melt into the skin. You only require such a tiny bit of this product, and it does blend into the skin really beautifully. It's not too matte, it's not too drying of a concealer. It's right on that in-between where it blends so easily into the skin. And it also sets onto the skin, especially if you set it with powder, and it remains consistent all throughout the day. It doesn't change consistency. It doesn't move away from the face. It doesn't get greasy or oily in any areas. This is the best facial concealer for sure, especially if you require a lot for any pigmentation on the skin. And the bronzer I chose as my most sophisticated bronzer is the Sisley Phyto-Touche Sun Glow Bronzing Gel Powder. I decided to get a backup. If you saw my previous version, it was actually in the old packaging and it was completely beaten up. But this is a fresh new bronzer, and I just love this bronzer. It is such a gorgeous formula. It is a gel to powder formula, so it applies almost as if it's a cream product, but it blends onto the skin. Well, it blends with the ease of application that a powder bronzer would give you, but it gives you that effect that a cream bronzer would. It just melts into the skin. If you can tell, it's a nice warm bronzer, but I don't think it's too warm. It doesn't look orangey on the skin. I also love using this on the eyes as well, just to complete my makeup looks. It has this ever so soft sheen to it, but it is such a sophisticated sheen. You can't detect shimmer particles on the skin. It adds this almost skin-like glow back to your skin, especially because like the exterior of your face has a bit of glow to it. So sometimes I prefer a powder that has a little bit of a shimmer to it, but you need to be super careful with bronzers that have shimmer to it because sometimes they can leave that shimmer particle effect where you can see shimmer particles on the skin. It just has that beautiful, elegant, and sophisticated finish that, again, it doesn't emphasize texture even though there is a little bit of a sheen to it. It is just so flattering. It's a bronzer that I pull for when I just want my makeup to look special and just lovely. And it's a very beautiful in-person bronzer because it has that melting in capability where you can't actually detect bronzer sitting on your skin. It just melts right in, and it is so beautiful. Something I pull for all the time for special occasions. And blush was actually a really easy choice for me, and this is the Gucci Cheeks and Eyes Powder Luminous Matte Blush. I have two shades. The shade that I think is the most elegant and sophisticated, nope, not this one. It is the shade Rosy Beige 05. And I really like this one because it is perfectly neutral. It is my cheeks but better. It just enhances the complexion, but it also doesn't compete with anything. And when I think of an elegant and sophisticated makeup product, I like for things that are just very neutral because they're not going to compete with anything. Again, if I have maybe a smokier eye, I would reach for this sort of blush. If I have a bold lip, I would reach for this sort of blush. But when I want my whole look to look elegant and sophisticated, I like for all neutral tones on the face just because it doesn't distract from anything. You're just going to look really pulled together and complete. And the finish and the formula of this is probably my favorite thing and what I think is the most sophisticated. I'm sorry if it's really annoying that I keep on saying the words sophisticated and elegant, but it's just a really chic formula that I think always looks good. It is called a Luminous Matte Blush. I would say it's more luminous with this soft sheen to it. Very, very soft sheen. It is soft satin sheen. Again, you can't detect shimmer particles because I think when you can detect shimmer particles on the skin, it distracts the eye and just doesn't look as great in person. But this has a creamy quality to it. The formula is very creamy. The formula is impeccable on this, blends into the skin, no harsh lines, has that melting in capability, which I love, so you can't see blush, powdered blush just sitting on top of your skin. So I've been loving this one for just an elegant blush. And the highlighter I chose is the Chantecaille Lotus Radiance highlighter. This is something that I think does more for the cheeks. It adds dimension back to the skin, which I think is really great. So it adds a little bit of brightness back to the skin. It just adds that dimension that you want from a highlighter versus a highlighter that's going to look wet and dewy and super glowy or that you can see from space. No, this highlighter just blends right into the skin. It is so subtle, but it's so elegant because of how subtle it is on the skin. It's not detectable. It's not a highlighter where people are going to notice like, oh, your highlighter looks really beautiful. It's one of those undetectable products where like your skin just looks really pretty, but you can't detect what that product is because it just adds that brightness back and that dimension back to your skin. So that's the kind of product that I will reach for when I want to create a sophisticated look. I think this powdered product is just really beautiful. Okay, you may notice that I look a little different in this clip, and that is because I just realized that I forgot to talk about one product that I really wanted to talk about in this video. And this is the Tom Ford Skin Illuminating Powder Duo in the shade 01 Moodlight. So this is a duo of a Beige highlighter, and these are like the ultimate sophisticated highlighter. So the Chantecaille highlighter that I talked about, it's a very different formula actually. It is quite a powdery powder. And what it does is it just adds structure back to your face. So it adds that brightness, that lightness, that dimension back to your face. When you think of highlighting and contouring the face, when you contour the face, it kind of recedes the face. And when you add light to the complexion, it brings those features forward. And that's what the Chantecaille powder does. But what this does is it illuminates the cheekbones and adds that really sophisticated candlelight glow. This is what I tend to reach for in the evening time when I want that sophisticated glow that isn't over the top. It doesn't actually look like you're wearing a highlighter. It just gives you that beautiful glow, kind of like when you are sitting in like a candlelight dinner. That's what I always think about when I think about this highlight. It's just it's a highlighter with such elegance to it, because the sheen in here is incredibly finely milled, very sophisticated. There are absolutely no chunky glitters at all. You cannot detect any sort of shimmer sitting on your face. It has this quality where it just melts right into the complexion, right into the skin. It almost looks as if you've applied a liquid illuminator. That is how subtle and beautiful it is on the skin. It just gives you this lit from within glow that is so gorgeous. Now for me, a finishing powder is really important when I am creating a look that I think is just really chic, because it just completes the look. It allows all your products to be blended in together so that there are no harsh lines. Sometimes if you just apply a powdered product like a bronzer, a blush, and a highlight, you can actually detect where you've applied those products just because it is makeup at the end of the day and you are applying it onto your skin. So if you don't blend out the edges, you can detect where you've applied that product, if that makes sense. So at the end of my makeup application, I like to buff everything into the skin just so there are no harsh lines, so you can't detect where one product was started and one product was finished. It just looks all seamless and blended in together so that your end result ends up looking more natural. And this is the Chantecaille Lotus Perfect Blur Glow Powder. This is limited edition, really hoping they'll make this permanent, but this is the perfect finishing powder because it does have a bit of a glow to it, but it has blurring capabilities to it, which is so lovely for a glowy powder. And I think that this, because it has that blurred effect, that soft focus effect, it just looks so elegant on the skin and so lovely. A lot of the times when you have other finishing powders, they can be a little bit too glowy, that you need to be super careful when you add them to the skin, because if you add too much of them, they can actually look heavy on the skin and they can make texture on the skin look worse just because they do have a sheen, and that's just natural for shimmer powders. They just will enhance texture. But this powder doesn't. It blurs like the Clé de Peau powder or the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Finishing Powder would, but it adds a glow back to the skin, which I just think is so beautiful. This is also a product that I could interchange with the Lotus Radiance highlighter. You could just use this, but with a more precise brush, and you could use this as your highlighter for, again, that really sophisticated sheen that just looks so beautiful in person. Just the best glowing powder that gives you that filtered, blurred look. You have to try it if you haven't. It is perfection. Now let's move on to eye products. Eyes was definitely where I had the biggest challenge. So I'm gonna just start with one and dones because, I don't know, might as well start with the single eyeshadows. So I picked one for every day because sometimes for a sophisticated and elegant look, you're not just using it to go out. Sometimes you want that look if you're going for a work meeting or just on an everyday basis. And if I were to use a one and done eyeshadow in the daytime, the shade I would reach for is the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color in the shade Copper, because this is almost a cream to powder eyeshadow. And it has a beautiful pigmentation. It has a beautiful sheen to it, but there are no chunky glitters. There are no large shimmer particles. It's a very continuous shimmer that just adds that really refined sheen, almost more of a satiny sheen, and it just looks beautiful all the time. And I love it for the daytime because, again, you don't have those distracting shimmer particles that kind of look like glitter on the eye. You don't get that at all. This just adds that beautiful glow to your skin. It's like that supermodel glow that I absolutely adore. So that is something I reach for in the daytime. You could also reach for it in the nighttime, of course. And then these one and done shadows are usually what I reserve in the evening time when I just want to spice up my makeup look, make it look a little bit more glam, but I still get that sophisticated and elegant shimmer. The first one is the Bobbi Brown Luxe Eyeshadow Rich Metal in the shade Melting Point. This is absolutely gorgeous. Again, this is one of those supermodel glow type eyeshadows. Has a little bit more pigmentation than the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color and has a little bit more of a reflection. It's not a chunky sparkle. It's not glittery or anything like that. It just has a little bit more of that shimmer particle. So it's like an elevated version of a satin, but I wouldn't say it's a metallic eyeshadow because it's not as chunky and there aren't those glitter particles to it. But it just is an amplified version of the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color. Absolutely beautiful. Love that as a one and done. It is a big Chalet product, so it is one of those eyeshadows that has that kind of melting in capability as well. And then another shadow I constantly reach for when I want that elegant look is the Chantecaille Luminescent Eye Shade in the shade Lion. This is even, I would say, more intense than the Bobbi Brown because it is a little bit more pigmented, and then we also have a little bit more of a shimmer reflection. Again, I'm very hesitant to use the word glitter because it's not a chunky glitter at all. Gorgeous. You can use these shades wet or dry because these are both baked shadows, so you'll get more intensity if you apply them wet, but you get that really soft, subdued look if you apply them dry onto the lid. It just won't be as intense. So my preferred version is usually applying them dry just because I get a more soft, subtle makeup look, but these are just so elegant and sophisticated on the eyes. Truly the only one and done eyeshadows I need in my collection because they just give you that really chic makeup look without it being over the top glitter that just looks too much. And then for eyeshadows, for quads, I decided to mention, well, I guess these are technically singles, but these are the Surratt Artistique shadows. I picked the shades Couvre, oh gosh, and Beige. Hate the packaging. I actually just picked up a palette, but it hasn't arrived yet. Love these. They are a creamy, they're almost like a cream to powder eyeshadow. They have that kind of formulation. They're just very lovely on the eyes. They have a beautiful texture to them. They're so soft and buttery. They're very easy to blend. If you have mature eyes, Surratt eyeshadows are fantastic. Even though it's a little annoying, you have to buy the palette separately. But I do like that you can create your own palette with shades that you get to specifically pick out. So I did pick up a few more shades to create my own quad. The formulation is actually very, very similar to the Tom Ford Eye Color Quad Creme. It is that creamy powder formula where it applies like a cream would. It really melts into the eyes. Very lovely for mature eyes if you are someone that doesn't like a lot of intensity, but you like something that's very flattering on the eyes. Almost has this like soft sheen even to the matte shades that just allows it to blend onto the eyes really nice. It's a very buildable formula, not too much pigment right off the bat, so it makes it really easy to work with if you are a beginner. And I just think the formula of this quad is really sophisticated as well, because the shimmers in here, they're such a fine shimmer, no chunkiness whatsoever. They're just so smooth and so creamy. And then the last eyeshadow quad I have to mention is like the ultimate sophisticated palette. This is the Clé de Peau number 305 Satin Moon Eye Color Quad. Again, you have to buy the little container separately to put the eyeshadow in, the palette in. But these are just the most beautiful neutral tones. You can see we have the warmer shades here, the cooler shades here, and it actually pairs really well together. Sometimes you can't pair cooler and warmer shades together because it looks a little awkward, but these pair beautifully together. The formulation of these is gorgeous. Clé de Peau does a fabulous job. The shades are finely milled. They are buttery. They are very, very, very easy to blend. If you're a beginner, Clé de Peau eyeshadows just are such a dream to work with because they don't have too much pigmentation, but they have enough to give you a really great look that has enough dimension to it, but it's not over the top. We don't have any of those glitter chunks. We have a very sophisticated, refined shimmer that just looks flattering all the time. Such a fantastic formula, and I feel like it's such an underrated product, but these shades as well, they're so neutral in tone that it's just such a chic look, and it will flatter absolutely everyone and really just enhance your complexion. Clé de Peau does great complexion enhancing products. I feel like my perfect sophisticated lip is always going in with a little bit of lip liner just to add a little bit of definition, which I think really completes the look and gives you that elegant look. Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Lip Cheat is my favorite because it just enhances my lips, gives me my lips but better, so it doesn't distract from the look. And then my favorite lipstick is the Chanel Rouge Cocoa Flash in the shade Boy, because I get a nice nude lip effect, but it's not too nude. It doesn't take away from my look. It doesn't make me look dead. It still gives me life, and I love the formula of this because the formula of this is just really beautiful. It has this soft satin finish to it, which almost adds this blurred look to your lips, which I think is just beautiful. The formula is flattering. It's that hybrid lip gloss lipstick that is just lovely. And then for my most elegant and sophisticated lip gloss, the Tom Ford, the Gloss Luxe Brilliant Lip Gloss in the shade 21 in the buff. The packaging is not only luxurious and elegant and sophisticated, but the product inside leaves your lips just feeling so lovely. There's not a lip gloss like this, and I know that probably sounds silly, but there really isn't. It's just so lovely on the lips, and I always pick this lip gloss when I want that really chic look. But that is it for all my most sophisticated and elegant makeup. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know down below like your 3 favorite elegant and sophisticated makeup products. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I will see you in my next video.